You are listening to Bedtime Dreamy Tales. Subscribe to our channel for new story. Story title: The Golden Crab. Once upon a time, there was a humble fisherman who lived with his wife and their 3 children in a small village by the sea. Every day, the fisherman would go out to sea to catch fish, which he would then sell to the king. One bright morning, as he cast his net into the sparkling waters, he felt a peculiar weight. To his amazement, he pulled up a golden crab, shimmering with an otherworldly light. Intrigued by the crab's beauty, he decided to keep it separate from the other fish. He placed it on a high shelf in the kitchen cupboard. That evening, while the fisherman's wife was cleaning the catch, she heard a tiny voice. Let down thy petticoat that lets thy feet be seen." She turned around in surprise and saw the golden crab staring at her with its small, bright eyes. "What, you can speak?" she exclaimed, half in disbelief and half in annoyance. The crab nodded. "Indeed I can, and I have a request. I wish to dine with you." Though startled, the fisherman's wife placed the crab on a dish and served it a modest meal. When the fisherman and his family sat down to eat, the crab spoke again, asking for its share of the food. Surprised but obliging, the family gave the crab some food. From that day on, the crab's plate always ended up full of gold after every meal. The fisherman's wife soon grew fond of the golden crab and its magical ability to provide gold. One day, the crab said to her, "Go to the king and tell him I wish to marry his younger daughter." The old woman, perplexed but obedient, went to the king's palace and conveyed the crab's proposal. The king laughed at the notion of his daughter marrying a crab, but did not dismiss the proposal outright. Instead, he set a seemingly impossible condition. "Tell the crab that I will give him my daughter if by tomorrow morning he can build a wall in front of my castle much higher than my tower, upon which all the flowers of the world must grow and bloom." The fisherman's wife returned home and relayed the king's message. The golden crab gave her a golden rod and instructed, "Strike the ground 3 times on the spot the king showed you, and by morning the wall will be there." Following the crab's instructions, the old woman struck the ground 3 times. The next morning, the king awoke to find a magnificent wall, taller than his tower and covered in flowers from all over the world. Astonished, the king reluctantly agreed to the crab's proposal, but added another condition. "I cannot give away my daughter until there stands in front of my palace a garden with 3 fountains, one playing gold, the second diamonds, and the third brilliants." Once again, the old woman returned home with the king's message. The crab gave her the golden rod and instructed her to strike the ground again. The following morning, a breathtaking garden with 3 magical fountains stood before the palace. The king, having no more conditions to set, consented to the marriage, and preparations for the wedding began. On the day of the wedding, the golden crab gave the fisherman a new set of instructions. "Take this rod and go to a certain mountain. Knock on the ground, and a black man will appear. Tell him to give you the golden garment that shines like the sun, the queenly robes adorned with flowers, and the golden cushion. Bring them to me." The fisherman did as instructed, and when he returned with the items, the crab put on the golden garment and perched upon the golden cushion. The fisherman then carried the crab to the palace, where the crab presented the queenly robes to his bride. That night, when the newlyweds were alone, the crab revealed his true identity to the princess. "I am the son of the greatest king in the world. I was enchanted and turned into a crab by day, but I am a man at night. I can also transform into an eagle whenever I wish." With that, he shook himself, and before the princess's eyes, he transformed into a handsome prince. But at dawn, he returned to his crab form. The princess, deeply in love with her prince, kept his secret. However, the royal family grew suspicious of her unusual behavior. Despite their spying, they could not uncover the truth. A year passed, and the princess gave birth to a son, whom she named Benjamin. Still, her mother, the queen, was not satisfied and urged the king to find a new husband for their daughter. When questioned, the princess remained steadfast in her loyalty, saying, "I am married to the crab, and him only will I have." Determined to find a suitable match for his daughter, the king announced a grand tournament and invited all the princes of the world. The princess, distressed, told the crab about her father's plan. The crab instructed her, Take this rod and go to the garden gate. Knock on the ground, and a black man will appear. Tell him to give you the golden armor and steed and the silver apple. Bring them to me." The princess followed his instructions and received the golden armor and steed, along with the silver apple. Before leaving for the tournament, the prince warned his wife, "Do not reveal my identity, no matter what happens." The princess watched the tournament from the window with her sisters. When the prince rode by, he threw the silver apple to her. She caught it, but said nothing about his identity. The king, puzzled by his daughter's lack of interest in the suitors, announced a second tournament. This time, the prince gave her a golden apple. Despite his warning, the princess's mother grew angry and slapped her, demanding to know who the mysterious knight was. In her fear, the princess cried out, "That is the crab!" Her mother, furious, ran to the princess's room, found the crab shell, and threw it into the fire. When the prince returned, he found his shell burnt and could not transform back into a crab. Heartbroken, he left the palace. Desperate to find her husband, the princess sought out an old man who had seen 12 eagles transform into 12 handsome youths. She convinced him to take her to the hidden palace. There, she recognized her husband among the 12 youths. She rushed to him, and he embraced her, saying, "I told you that you would betray me, but now the enchantment is almost over. Stay with me for 3 months, and we will be free." The princess stayed, and when the 3 months ended, the prince was finally free from his enchantment. Together they returned to the palace, and from that day on, they lived happily ever after. Their love had triumphed over all obstacles, and their story became a legend in the kingdom. If you like this story, please give this video a like. For more stories, go to bedtimedreamytales.com. See you in the next story.